Namaste. A very warm welcome to today's guest talk. The topic today is making your emotions your superpower. The guest speaker with us today is Miss Mansee Vashist. Mansee Vashist is an emotional excellence and mental wellness coach, a corporate professional turned entrepreneur with over 30 years of vast experience in the IT industry. She coaches executives and professionals to boost their self-belief, clear internal chaos, and excel at work. Her work is based on the best practices of emotional intelligence, emotional and mental wellness, mindfulness, spiritual wellness, and her own corporate experience. Welcome, Nancy ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to an interesting session with you. Over to you.
A very good evening to everyone. Thank you, Arunima. I so much look forward to the session. Okay. So I think what I'll do is, in the meantime, to respect all those who have joined on time, at least I'll not share the screen right now. I was just looking at it. If I'm able to share, I'll possibly engage. So may I request everyone who has joined the session right now, first of all, a very warm good evening to all of you, and thank you so much for joining in when you could have been elsewhere doing something else, but you took time to join. So would it be possible for you to switch on your videos? It is actually a great connect for the speaker when you can see the other people on the other side on the videos. Otherwise, it is only the screens showing up. So thanks, Arvinder, and thank Mr. Acharya. Thanks, Mr. Negi. Others, if they can put on their videos, that will be great. Yeah, so just let me know if you're able to see the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. And in case, if at all there are any queries or any points, Arunima, may I request you to please bring them up, because I will not be able to see the screen. I mean, I will not be able to see the queries that come up.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we are going to talk about a very crucial subject, as I can say, which is about how do you make your emotions your superpower. So any thoughts at this point of time from any of the participants, anything that they have in their mind, that what is it that they're looking from this session or anything? Would love to know if you have anything to share or anything to ask. You can put it in the chat window. Okay. So before I get started and get into the details of the topic, let me take you to a scenario, and which I think would be applicable to most of us, whatever I'm able to see, the number of participants and the participants, in fact, in the chat, on the screen. So it's a nice, fine morning. One is expecting maybe tea or newspaper. So generally, as happens in our society, it's the husband's expecting the tea or the newspaper, but it could be anyone. It could be generally anyone, right? And you're expecting the morning and to go like that. And suddenly, the spouse or the partner, there comes this voice. It could be a little loud voice also, which says, I asked you last night to put milk in the refrigerator and you left it on the dining table. Now all the milk is spoiled. There is no milk to make tea. There is no milk to even for the kids. There's no milk for anybody else to do anything, not even tea, not even coffee, nothing. And the voice was a little agitated and raised. And you were listening to it. And you suddenly felt, oh, I mean, it disturbed you. And you sort of retaliated and says, oh yeah, I forgot. You're just concerned about you're just not liking my Netflix not watching. So what? If I just forgot to put the milk in the refrigerator, it happens. It can happen. I'm a human being. And this argument gets converted into more than an argument. there is annoyance, there is anger. Both the parties are upset, right? And of course, it has a cascading effect. In case the children are there in the house, they're watching. In case there are other people in the family or in the house, they are watching. And it is a bad start of the day, or I will say not such a good start of the day. And then the day progresses. Maybe you're leaving for work, or maybe you have got to go for a meeting or something, right? So the usual start of the day, which starts with, usually, okay, have a good day, and things like that, that's not there. So there's an itch somewhere. Has it ever happened? Has something similar ever happened to you? Yeah. In case there's anybody who would like to share, I would love to know from you. You can put it in the chat window. And in case this has not happened, then maybe something similar to that. Has that happened? It could be any time of the day, not necessarily morning. And when a day starts on not such a pleasant note, or even if it happens in the middle of the day, any time of the day, basically, the entire day goes like that most of the time. The work transactions get impacted. The other interactions, could it be with colleagues, could it be with business partners, could be with acquaintances, could be with team members, could be with customers, they get impacted. What do you notice in this? What do you notice in this example? Yeah, so as I requested at the beginning of our session, that we are talking about emotions, and we are talking about making emotions your superpower. So some exchange of thoughts from your end, some ideas, or some your views, would really make the session very, very fruitful, I should say. Otherwise, it would be more or less like a monologue. And I think to be able to do more value add, I would really request you to share your inputs or your views. So have you ever, all of us, and we all have experienced emotional upsurges in our day-to-day life. Yeah. Anytime there has been any emotional upsurge, how that has made you feel? How about putting that in the chat window? We have about 14 participants. So even if I say, let's say around 11 or 12, right? Can expect some few replies that anytime you're in emotional upsurge, how did you feel? How did that make your day go? Would anyone of you like to share? Now we can wait for maybe 30 seconds in case anybody is interested in sharing. Okay. So, okay. Thanks, AG, for sharing. It says, I think fights getting bigger than the problem at hand usually happens for me when I'm already tired or having previous annoyances from the person I haven't expressed. Thank you so much for sharing this. This is such a deep sharing, and this is what this is what we are very much going to talk about today. That why this happens and what can we do about it. Okay. So Mr. Acharya says we just try to forget. Yeah, of course. So just try to forget is the action that we are trying to take after that, right? But once that emotional upsurge happens, right? It makes us feel upset at that point of time. Upset is a generic word that we all use. So I'm using, the same term, but we could be angry, annoyed, or irritated, or unhappy, or sad, right? Okay. Anyone else would like to share before I go ahead? And thank you so much for sharing. That makes the session so much more fruitful. Okay. So someone says a difficult emotion affects my body in a considerable way. Absolutely. Yes. A headache increases in heart rate and other physiological responses follow. It impairs mature decisions, making tendency to remain mindful and present in the moment. Thank you. Thank you so much. And it is so wonderful to see that when you're sharing, when people are sharing that what they feel and what they do about it, absolutely fantastic. So, ladies and gentlemen, the point that I wanted to make here is that how emotions are impacting us almost every moment. Many times people say that don't get so emotional, or let's not be so emotional about it. But the truth is that emotions, oh, I love that. Harvinder Kaur says emotions are humans' attributes. Absolutely. So, we all understand that emotions are there and emotions are impacting us. And emotions are there with us all the time. But a deeper realization that the way emotions impact us, the way they impact our lives, professional lives, personal lives, our relationships, again, be it personal or professional, even our personal growth, our outlook, our reactions, the actions that we take, so much is driven by emotions. So it is very important that we are able to harness the power of emotions and we make them work for us rather than our emotions working against us. So, what do I mean by saying how, rather than making our emotions work against us? Let's have a look at it shortly. And thank you so much for your participation. So mainly when we look at on today's session, whom all it is meant for is anyone who's looking at how to harness the power of their emotions and how to go about being emotionally intelligent. And I'm also happy to share with you that this is the beginning of a series. So today we are going to talk about emotions and their impact on us. And then we are going to talk about today also what is the meaning of it being emotionally intelligent? What are the various facets of being emotionally intelligent, and we are going to touch upon self-awareness. This is what we are going to do today, and then in the subsequent series we will take up the rest of the aspects of emotional intelligence. So as I shared with you that what I'm going to love for you to learn today would be typically, the role emotions play in our lives. And when we look at emotions, feelings, moods, how important it is to understand about what these three are so that we are able to handle them better, manage them better, and about emotional intelligence. As happens with any Zoom session, you get the best of it when we make the session interactive and when we stay tuned, connected till the end. Okay. So this was the cup of tea I was talking about. Sometimes a storm is there or can be there in the cup of tea, right? So this is where this is what I was talking about, that how emotions impact us professionally, personally. In fact, I don't know if you have noticed that emotions are driving our actions. Emotions are also driving our decisions. If any one of you, thinks differently, I would love to really love to know your views. And please feel free at this point of time to unmute yourself and share if you would like to share anything. And I would love to take questions at any point of time, not just taking questions at the end. So if there's anything you would like to mention at this point of time or share, you're most welcome. So how many times have you noticed, or where all have you noticed in life, that your emotions really impacted your decisions? Cognitively, when we think, or logically when we try to think, then we say no, 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 my emotions, no, no. When I'm taking decisions, I'm not letting my emotions impact my decision. But does it happen truly? Go back to any critical decision that you took, or even to any non-critical decision that you took. Were your emotions at play? Once again, I would request you to share that in the chat window or unmute for us to make the session, most, I should say, more interesting, more beneficial. It will be great to have a two-way interaction. Has it ever happened when you were taking decisions and you felt that your emotions were at play? Have you realized that? Have you ever felt so? Or maybe when you look back, any decision that you took, so many decisions everybody would have taken in their lives, at any point of time, were emotions impacting it? So if you would like to share, then that's great. Oh, there's someone sharing. Yes, of course. So thanks, Dr. Bijlani, saying yes, emotions dominate decision making. Yeah. So typically, let me put it in this way as well, that many times when we have, sorry, many times this also happens that when we say, I was in a good mood and probably, I just decided to go ahead with something, even if it appeared a little risky to me. If you see, it happens when we are in a good mood, we generally tend to say yes to many things. When we are uh, not in a very good mood, when we are upset or when we are annoyed, right? We may again not take the decision or the right decision. um, okay, so Harun, this is emotions impact a lot, but better learn to be emotionally strong, to be stable. Yes, of course, that's what we are talking about. That's what the whole thing is, and we are going to move into the how of it also. I'm talking about this to emphasize upon this point a bit more, that in case we really haven't thought much about it, how emotions impact our decisions. So that's why it's said that when in a very good mood, don't really take decisions that involve maybe some risk or something. At the same time, when you're angry or when you are annoyed, again, better to avoid decision taking. And of course, decisions have our emotions have got ripple effects also. Yeah, again, you would have noticed that how your mood is, right? And I'm talking about emotions and moods almost interchangeably at this point of time, but soon I'm going to talk about it, that though we use them interchangeably because that's what is the common language, right? I'm going to talk about the difference and shortly. But yeah, so coming back to what I was talking, when we are in a good mood, right? We are chirpy, we are happy, and that's how it impacts other people as well, especially our family and our family members, maybe our close knit friends, our close circles. And when we are not in a good mood, so sometimes it could be if there's an argument at place of work, or if there was a dissonance at place of work, usually when you go back home, it goes with you, right? Usually it happens with most of the people. I'm not saying with everyone. And then if the kid comes and says something to you, if the spouse is interacting or saying something, and then one is usually not in a very good mood. Some people are able to contain it, and some people are not able to contain it. So some people would be irritated and say, "Don't talk to me right now," and some people say, some people would be in that mood that, oh, I'm not in a good mood and I don't wish to talk. And some people might say that, I think I need some time off for myself. Allow me some time and I will come back. So different ways that we deal with it. But nevertheless, emotions do have a ripple effect. Okay, I think there was a message. Okay. So this is a very famous wheel of emotions. The idea is just to just share it with you all. So there was a psychologist, very famous psychologist, Dr. Proctor. He had created this wheel of emotions just to show that there are so many emotions, and we usually try to confine our definitions or confine our link to just a few of the emotions. The idea was just to mention it to you at this point of time, nothing else, and also to say that if you think of any moment of the day, you think of any moment of your day, any moment of your sleeping hours, there's never a time when we are devoid of our emotions. Have you thought about this? Have you ever thought, did you ever realize that there is hardly a moment of the day when you're not having any, when you're not experiencing any emotion? I would love to know that from you, that did you ever think about it? Did you ever did it ever catch your attention that there was hardly a moment in the day? Okay, I also wanted to check with you that is it okay with you if I switch over to Hindi at some point of time in between? Would you be comfortable? Is everybody going to be comfortable with that? In case I switch over to Hindi at any point of time, you could put it in the chat window and let me know.
So, Mansee,
Yeah.
on language, sometimes people who see the recording may not know Hindi. So just a
Yeah, sure. Not a problem. Not a problem. I'll keep that in mind. So we just looked at this wheel of emotions, and the point that I was mentioning was that if we look at this, hardly any time of the day, any moment of the day when we are devoid of emotions, some or the other emotion is always, we are experiencing, we are going through. And just to name a few, these are some of the basic emotions which are there. But here in today's session, my intent is not to talk about what are those emotions. Idea is that we talk about what are emotions and how are they impacting us. So this is just some of the basic 8 emotions that we have of happiness, anger, sadness, joy, fear, trust, disgust. Okay. Now, we often, as I said some time back, we often are talking about I'm in a good mood, I'm not in a good mood, or it feels nice, yeah, you know, not really feeling up to the mark. So we use emotions, feelings, moods interchangeably. Let's understand when we say emotions, feelings, moods, are they different? How are they different? Do we use them, as I said, almost as a substitute of each other, but they are different? And let's understand how they're different because it helps us to manage them better. So, what are emotions? They're nothing but it's a chemical reaction actually which is happening in the body. So it's whenever there will be any trigger, whenever there's anything in the environment, what could be a trigger? A trigger could be as simple as somebody, let's say, somebody talking to you in a loud voice. So some people, that's a trigger. They cannot really take it. Others talking to them in a loud voice, they get offended. With others, it may not make much of a difference. For some people, even a trigger could be somebody really not respecting time, even if somebody is delayed, right? So it could be a trigger. So some of you, you would identify that you would also have different triggers. Something that can upset you, and something that can really feel you elated, right? Can put you in a good mood. So emotions are these things which can upset us, which can put us in a good mood. So these things are the triggers, right? Or as we call them, even the stimuli. So whenever there are any trigger happening in the environment, right, our emotions, we sense that whenever there is a trigger in the environment, and we sense that, and the chemicals are released in the body. It could be in the brain, it could be elsewhere. So emotions are essentially chemicals, and I'm sure most of us never thought of it like that. That emotions are nothing but actually chemical reactions. So the first thing that we get is an emotion. When these emotions get into when they are felt in the body, right, when they are able to experience, when we experience these emotions at a physical level, at a mental level, they get converted into feelings, right? We feel low, we feel upset, we feel elated, right? So then emotions give rise to feelings. Feelings remain for a longer time. Emotions remain for a very short time, very short period. So it takes almost 1/4 of a second for us to sense an emotion, to sense a trigger, and for that chemical to be released in our body. So we have then feelings which remains for a longer duration, and we have moods. So variety of things where they could be, these feelings which give rise to moods, or which give birth to moods. Mood can depend on many factors. Mood could be also how you've been feeling, how what you've been eating, how has been your routine, how well are you able to take care of your exercise or your food, or what kind of a mental state you have been in, what kind of a thought process do you carry. So there are some people who carry very generally in an optimistic outlook. There are some people who do not carry that kind of an optimistic outlook. So all these things put together, they affect our mood. So mood, as I said, they come from a combination of various feelings. Of course, moods are complex because there could be several emotions which can make up mood, or could be various feelings. As I said, our environment, which could be our people, which sometimes even weather. Sometimes they say, oh, it's the weather is really good, and the mood really gets elevated. So emotions, feelings, and moods are three different things, but very connected, and it's a function of time. Emotions are very short lived, but because of emotion, feelings come in. Feelings remain for a longer duration compared to emotions, and then moods continue for a very long time. Mood can continue for a minute, it can continue for hours, it can continue for even sometimes days also. So it is important that we understand that these are connected but different things. And what we really have to understand is where we are between these emotions and feelings, and how are we going to harness the power of our emotions. At this point of time, if there's any question that you would like to ask, I would love to take that, or any comment from you, or anything that you would like to mention or share. Anyone, any question? Okay. Okay, so next. So it's important that we manage our emotions well, because if we don't manage our emotions well, as we talked about it, emotions are this release of chemicals in the body, right? Can we really prevent these the release of these chemicals? No. That means, can we really prevent an emotion from maybe from experiencing an emotion? No. We will experience an emotion, and there is the emotion in itself is not good or bad. Traditionally speaking, we say emotions can be positive or negative. However, each emotion has its own place and has its own importance and value. So emotions would be there, but then how the idea is, if we don't manage whatever is coming from that emotion, then that will start managing us. And that's what happens when we get angry or irritated or frustrated, or when we are feeling very low, or when we are very fearful, when we are very stressed, when we have a lot of anxiety, correct? Then all of that start managing us rather than we managing that. Okay. So how about getting intelligent about the emotions? How about looking at how do we deal with these emotions? How do we understand our own emotions? And of course, then how do we manage them? So emotional intelligence we look at, it's the ability, in very, very simple words, is the ability to recognize your own emotions and the emotions of others. Right? That's point number one. And of course, when we use this awareness of understanding the emotions in ourselves and in others, then we use this awareness towards managing our own behavior and our relationship with others. Now, so again, I mean, this is a very, very simple definition which is given by Dr. Travis Bradbury and Jean Greaves. So again, if I were to further simplify that, means emotional intelligence is actually a skill. It's an ability. I will say emotional intelligence is a life skill. What does that skill do? It helps us to understand our own emotions. One, it helps us to recognize and understand our own emotions. It helps us to understand and recognize, understand emotions in the other people. And when we have this awareness, when we have this understanding, then we are able to manage ourselves better, and we are able to manage our relationship with others better. When I say we are able to manage ourselves better, that's a very big thing itself. Manage ourselves better means managing our life, personal life, professional life, our growth, our worth, productivity, be it about our confidence, be it about uh, integrity, be it about leadership, be it about being a good manager, about a good professional. So it is so much powerful as it unfolds, and then we see what all can emotional intelligence do. So before I go ahead, I would like to ask you, is there any question anybody has at this point of time about emotional intelligence?
Hello.
Any questions? Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, ma'am. Lena this side.
Yes, Lena.
Yeah. So, ma'am, my question is that, okay, I control my emotions, but if I will not tell to other person that I am hurt, so is it not that I am harming at the end myself only?
Yeah, of course. And we're not talking about controlling. We are talking about managing. And first of all, thank you for asking that question. Please allow me some time. I will definitely answer that. At this point of time, I would say we are not talking about controlling the emotion. We are talking about how do we manage that emotion? How do we handle that emotion? Let's say somebody said something or somebody did something and it hurt you, right? So hurt has been caused. Hurt hui tabhi, then only you realize that you are hurt, correct? So
Excuse me,
that
ma'am.
is, yeah.
What's the difference between controlling and managing?
Okay, so when we talk about controlling an emotion, right? So it's about, okay, am I saying I am not going to feel that emotion? Not possible. Am I saying I am not going uh, to uh, to really express that what I'm feeling? Am I not going to am I not going to really even acknowledge what I am feeling? Right? All these things come in the domain of controlling. Managing means I have experienced an emotion. And in fact, when an emotion we will always experience, as I told you some time back, as I shared with you, an emotion is a chemical release. So an emotion will be there. We cannot really escape from experiencing an emotion. So we will experience an emotion. What do we do after experiencing that emotion? How do we handle that? That is what is the meaning of managing. How do we handle that? That is important. Let me give you another example. I'm sorry, who asked this question? Lena asked the other question. Recently, somebody asked, may I know your good name, please? Who asked the difference? Somebody asked the difference between managing and controlling.
That was Sonal, I guess.
Soon, okay.
Sonal Roy.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So I'll give an example, Sonal. One can feel angry, correct? So anger is an emotion. So one can feel angry. One gets for anything. It could be just anything which have caused an anger. Maybe somebody just spoke rudely, or maybe some work didn't happen, or maybe somebody disappointed. Whatever. One can feel angry. So feeling angry is experiencing that emotion. Now, what do you do after that? Do you one option could be to blurt out that anger on somebody, right? Two could be it could be maybe shouting at the person on due to which that particular thing has happened, which has caused an anger. Third thing could be realizing that whatever has happened has happened. There's no point kind of shouting at anyone. Maybe I can explain it to the person to take care from next time onwards. Or at this point of time, if I am too disturbed to even talk to somebody about what has happened because I'm very angry, if I just decided, okay, I will probably just have a glass of water and just be calm. Or maybe if I say, I'll go out and take a walk so that I just calm down. Many times we do that, right? When people are angry, they say, okay, let me just go and take a walk. Let me just go out. Let me not talk to anyone right now. Or somebody, somebody might do something else to divert attention. So that because anger has happened, that's an emotion that has been experienced. What do I deal with it? What do I do about it? Would shouting at somebody be helpful? Would screaming at somebody do the needful? Would irritating or taking the irritation on others, as I said, our emotions have got a cascading effect, or and which it keeps on impacting others as well. That's what I mean by cascading effect. So, and I'm mindful that if I am annoyed, if I am angry, if I am upset, and when I reach home, or if I was already at home, and this other people around, they can also get the flame of my anger. So, do I do that, or do I at that time I say, whosoever caused it anger, whatever was the reason of my anger, that's okay. And maybe I'll deal with that person differently. Maybe I'll either explain to that person, or I need to distance from the person, whatever I might think, right? That is about managing the anger. That is managing the emotion, right? Controlling is, I have felt very angry, I'm very upset, and I'm just trying to keep it to myself. I'm just not even doing anything about it. Then what will happen is, if not at that time, then maybe after 2 hours, after half an hour, or maybe after half a day or next day, it might come out in some other form. I have not then managed that anger. right? So, so I think I've answered your question. Is that clear, Sonal?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So we looked at the definition of emotional intelligence, where we said it's all about recognizing your own emotion, recognizing and understanding emotions of others, and use this awareness for our own growth and, of course, for improving our relationships, right? Okay. So what I am sharing with you right now are these are the 4 aspects of emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence, we will try to look over internet, there could be some people will share some 5 divisions, some people will share 4, somebody will share more. So the terminology may be different, but this is essentially the 4 aspects. So one is self-awareness, which is the foundation stone. Now, let me also clarify here, when we use self-awareness, right? We use self-awareness in terms of spirituality also, and in so many other contexts as well. Here, self-awareness means understanding one's own emotions. Today, we are going to talk about this in more detail. So I will come back to that. So first is self-awareness, understanding my own emotions, understanding what gets me going, what stops me, what irritates me, and what really pulls me up, what really makes me more happy, right? That's self-awareness, understanding my own emotions. Next is self-management. Once I understand my emotions, how do I manage my emotions? I just give an example of anger. I am angry, having this awareness that I am angry, and therefore right now at this point of time, I probably want to just be quiet and calm down and calm myself, right? So self-awareness, self-management are very much, self-management cannot happen if there is no self-awareness. So first step is self-awareness, second self-management, then is social awareness, knowing about my social surroundings, knowing about other people, knowing about the environment, being sensitive to that. And then fourth is relationship management. This is then what we do. So these are the 4 blocks or 4 facets of emotional intelligence. Today we are going to talk about self-awareness. Okay. Before I go ahead with that, I just want to again take a few moments and share with you that with emotional intelligence, how can you really make your emotions your superpower? Our emotions that can really pull us down many times because they can overcome us. They can be in the driver's seat and drive us, right? So, but how can we, even if we have to, even when we will experience the emotions, how can still we manage the emotions and make them our superpower with emotional intelligence? So just let's look at a quick, a sneak peek view. I have been talking about it, that when there is somebody's put a comment. I'll just take a moment to read that. Yeah. So when we are looking at the emotions as superpower, we already talked about, as I said, it can help you with better relationships. It can help you with better confidence, with more happiness, with your growth on personal and professional level, and of course, your own confidence. These things we have talked about. And now let's quickly move on to let's move on to when we talk about self-awareness. What does it mean? So self-awareness means being more, I'll just stop sharing. I'll keep talking in the meantime and I'll share it again. Let's start. So self-awareness means that when we understand our emotions, then we are able to recognize that what is. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. So with self-awareness, as I said, it means that when we are able to look at what am I feeling, what am I experiencing. So even something like I'm angry, or I'm upset, or I'm feeling very stressed, or somebody has behaved in a certain way and I'm feeling irritated. or I am feeling right now. Usually with with I should say with positive emotions, it doesn't really need us to take that kind of a cognizance, but it could be still good. So this understanding, that this awareness, what am I feeling, is important. Uh, that is a part. When you understand your emotions better, you will be able to understand the emotions of other person or other people also better. So that is an essential part of self-awareness. Uh, what can we do to enhance our self-awareness? So one of the things could be, how do we increase our emotional literacy? How can we get more aware about emotions? These are the few tips that I would like to share, and that's all for today. My bad, I'm again, there's uh, some snag here. Just give me a moment. I'll have to again stop sharing. So we talked about this part, self-awareness, already. What I was talking about is understanding the emotions and the tips for that. So first is, one of the tips could be um, having this awareness about the emotions. What are you feeling? So for that, what we call as something called emotional literacy is important. Maybe next time when we talk, I can share that with you in greater detail. Even you will be able to find this over net also, that what are the various kind of emotions that are there. And even if you don't have to really learn all of it, but even if you learn a few basic ones, and then when you're able to say, this is how am I feeling. So in simple words, sometimes when you're anxious, when you're stressed, when you're disturbed, as we generally call it, right? Taking a pause and say, I'm feeling disturbed. We say I'm not feeling okay. So asking, I'm feeling disturbed, and what is it, where is it coming from? Right? So having this, first of all, acknowledging your emotion, that this is how I'm feeling, is important. Why that is important? Because it tells us what to do. It takes us in that direction. Second is, as I said, maintaining a diary of emotions would be helpful. Yeah, some of you might want to call it journaling. Even that could be, we could call that. But those of you who feel that you're very disturbed by your emotions, what you can do, though it is applicable for everyone, it is helpful for everyone, I should say. So but those who want to really would want to take that up, it is again a very, very important tip for making your emotions your superpower. So basically, the first step of enhancing your self-awareness is, you can write down that what was I feeling, right? Which emotion did I feel? If you get the right word for it, great. If you can't, even if you, whatever you can figure out, right? The list of 8 emotions I already mentioned. And then you can write down that in that sentence, that suppose if you're feeling exhausted, or maybe if you're feeling overwhelmed, or if you're feeling annoyed, angry, then you can write down. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you can write that I am overwhelmed because of this, or I'm overwhelmed because I'm feeling there's too much to do. That's what usually makes us, feel overwhelmed. So when we say, what is my emotion? Then I write down, what am I feeling? Write down in that sentence. And it doesn't have to be really technically 100% perfect. And then you say that, what should I do about it? So if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I feel I have too much to do. So maybe what action do I need to take? So probably I need to maybe jot down what are the things that are bothering me, and where do I get started from? Could be one of the things. Or if you're feeling hurt, as somebody had said, when you said I'm feeling hurt, the first thing, what is their emotion? Feeling hurt or feeling sad, right? Why am I feeling like that? And when you say, then probably you're able to figure out that in that sentence, when you write that maybe someone spoke to me like this, or somebody did this to me. So what would I like to do? Do I want to have a calm conversation with the person? Do I want to really go back and review how is my equation or my relationship with that person? Do I really need to work on my boundaries with that person? Whatever is that, right? So that will give you the action. So this is the second step. First is, I will say, for enhancing your self-awareness, uh, understand what you're feeling, or acknowledge even this is what I am feeling. Take a pause and say, this is how I'm feeling. Second is, you can always maintain a diary of emotions. Third, a very, very important thing is knowing the push buttons, which means what upsets you, right? And what, as I said sometime back, that emotional intelligence is also about knowing that what gets you going and what pulls you back. So your push button could be what upsets you. I have given certain examples today that for some people it could be somebody disrespecting time, meaning someone being late can be a huge, huge trigger or upsetting point for someone. For someone, somebody talking in a loud voice can be an upsetting point. For somebody, it could be that the other person did not tell me exactly how things were. Maybe, or maybe did not give me all the details. It could be sometimes upsetting for somebody. So know what your push buttons, right? And once you know what your push buttons are, also identify what would you like to do about it. What I mean here is, okay, so what would I like to do about it is a part of self-management. In self-awareness, it is more about, first of all, being aware. When we get to know what are the things which irritates me, what are the things that bug me, what are the things which really, as we say that, it my it just blew me off, or my fuse went off. These means what upsets you, what are the things that upset you, what are the things that really makes you feel joyful and elated. Knowing this, having this awareness also is very important, because when you know that this thing upsets you, next time something like that happens, uh, you will move into the awareness. Oh, this upsets me, so I don't have to let it really control me, because I'm aware something like this upsets me. Small example: if somebody is speaking to in a loud, some people have a loud voice, but some people can't take that. So when you know that something like this upsets me, and when you're in awareness of it, and you say, "Oh, this upsets me," so somebody talks to me like that next time, it is going to upset me. But then, how am I going to handle that? When I know how am I going to handle that, it will not let you become a prey to that emotion of being annoyed or being upset. Okay, so this falls in the category of self-regulation. That what do we do about it? Self-awareness is knowing what your push buttons, what are your triggers. And the last thing, as I said, is that you can do. One of the tips is, the last tip from my end is knowing the ripple effect of your emotions. So even the cascading effect of your emotions. That means when we are aware that if I am joyous, people in my family, people around me, my friends, my colleagues are also, going to feel good about it. But when I am annoyed, irritated, or stressed, how it passes on to others. When we are more aware of that, even this awareness helps us to deal with that emotion in a better manner. So that is all from my side regarding today's talk. And if there are any questions from you, I will be more than happy to take. And I'll stop sharing. And I'm really sorry about the couple of times I had to stop and reshare.
No, ma'am, that's all right. Thank you so much for this interesting talk. A comprehensive session on, recognizing and understanding emotional intelligence. Thank you so much. Participants, if anyone has a question or they want to share any feedback, please go ahead. You can put it up in the chat box or unmute yourself and share.
Thank you, Vidya. So, gentle people, if there are any questions regarding what we discussed about emotions and the kind of role they play in our lives, and how every moment, I will not even call it every waking moment, but every moment of our life is, how is it impacted by emotions. We also talked about um, emotions, feelings, moods, and then we said, okay, uh, how about getting intelligent about our emotions? And we just touched upon what is emotional intelligence, and we touched upon the first aspect, first facet of it, of self-awareness. So if there are any questions, I would love to take that.
Then I guess you made it an interactive session. So right now, no one has a question. So,
Okay.
Dr. Bijlani, would you like to share any thoughts or views of yours?
Thank you, Mansee. You started with saying that you are going to talk about a crucial subject. Now, that was something, which one might say that anyone who talks about a subject thinks that his or her subject is extremely important and crucial. But in this case, that didn't apply. It truly is a crucial and important subject. Sri Aurobindo and the mother have often referred to emotions as the vital part of the being, something essential. And that is because, contrary to what we like to believe, in fact, our life is dominated by emotions. We feel that we live by reason, but that is only the legitimate function of reason, to be able to govern and moderate our emotions. But more often than not, what happens is that the emotions exploit our intellect. And the result is that the emotions compel the intellect to invent reasons so that we can do what we feel like doing anyway. So emotions, in fact, rule us and play a very important part in decision making, and that's important. And that is also one reason why emotions in general have a negative sort of a perception. We feel that emotions are something which is undesirable. Emotions lead us astray. Emotions make us do wrong things. Emotions lead us to temptations, and emotions are behind all crime, and so on and so forth. And uh, since we realize that it is impossible to do away with emotions, we just accept it as an unavoidable evil. But again, Sri Aurobindo and the mother are very careful to say that that is not that's only one side of the picture. Just as the emotions are behind everything wrong that happens in the world, emotions are responsible behind for all the evil in the world. Emotions are also behind everything great and worthwhile that happens in the world. Because great and worthwhile things also happen because we are emotionally involved in doing something, we are passionate about doing something, and that is why great things happen. Because otherwise, great things involve so many difficulties, hardships, obstacles, and so on, that we would not have the courage to go through all that unless we are really passionately involved in doing something. So, emotions are also behind everything great that happens, and therefore, emotions should not be rejected, emotions should not be killed, emotions should not be despised. Instead, emotions should be purified, refined, and transformed. And what is this transformation of emotions? The transformation of the emotions is that instead of remaining raw and unrefined, uh, they should get more and more illumined by our deepest self, which is our soul. So the more they get illumined by that part of the being, the more likely they are, the emotional part of the being, it's more likely that it will start speaking in the same language as the soul. Because after all, what is the emotional part of the being looking for? It is looking for joy and happiness. And the intention of creating us, when the good Lord has created us, the intention was not to make us unhappy. It's just that we look for happiness at wrong places, and we look for happiness of the wrong kind. When the emotional part of the being gets illumined by the soul, then the emotional part of the being itself starts realizing that when I listen to the soul, when I speak in the same language as a soul, I get a superior version of happiness, and a type of happiness which is always in my own hands. To put it more directly, the soul speaks the language of love. And loving involves giving, because love has to find an expression. The expression comes in giving. And when one gives, one finds that the joy that one gets from giving has a much superior feel as compared to the happiness of getting something. And secondly, the joy of giving is always in our own hands, because giving is always in our own hands, getting is not. So we get a double benefit when the emotional part of the being gets illumined by the soul. Then what happens is that we go in for the type of happiness which is an expression of love, which involves giving, and the feel is much better than the happiness of getting something. And we find that the control of happiness is now in our own hands, because we can always give what we want. We can't always get whatever we want. To conclude, this whole idea of emotional intelligence, in fact, is about success. It's not about being a good person or about spirituality, essentially. The whole thing is about success. It was found that people who have a higher emotional intelligence are more successful than others who have a low emotional intelligence, even if they have a higher intelligence quotient. So the EQ matters more than the IQ when it comes to being successful. So it's more about success than about being a good person. But all the same, the two are not necessarily uh, divorced from each other. Because when it particularly comes to being aware of the emotions of others and managing the emotions of others, one can understand it at a cognitive level, what the other person may be feeling, and therefore say the type of things, make the type of responses that make the other person feel that, yes, I understand your emotions, and then say those nice things which are able to manage the other person's emotions and thereby build up, at least at a superficial level, a good relationship. So, and all that will lead to success. But if one is not just putting it on because one understands that understanding the emotions of others and managing them is important for success, one is not doing it just for that reason, but one is doing it sincerely. One is doing it because one can't do otherwise. One is doing it because that has become second nature to the person, and that is what spirituality is about. So if the person does it from that point of view, then he's doing the same thing. He is understanding the other person's emotions and he's being empathetic, and this empathy is genuine and sincere. And therefore, the way he manages the other person's emotions, because of understanding the other person's emotions, not only at the cognitive level, but at a deeper level than that, then this person is able to strike even a better relationship, because there's no substitute for sincerity. No matter how much one tries to put on and act, it cannot have the same effect, particularly when it comes to lasting relationships, like say relationship with the spouse or relationship at a workplace where one has worked for 10 years, 20 years. Now you can't go on fooling people by just putting on an act. If it comes sincerely and it comes from within, which is possible only if this awareness of the emotions of others and managing others is coming from that deeper level, from by the emotional part of the being getting illumined by the soul. If it is coming from that level, then it will achieve not only success, but it will also achieve spiritual growth for the person who is practicing it and for those who are around him. So one can go beyond this ordinary understanding of emotional intelligence. The basic concept remains the same, but instead of just knowing it as a fact that if we do this, then it leads to success, one can go beyond it, that yes, I should do it, but then I should do it with total sincerity. I'll
So,
stop.
Dr. Bijlani, I would also like to add here, it was very nice listening to you, but also like to add here that when we talk about emotional intelligence, it's not just about, it's also when it is talking about success, it's not really limiting itself to success in a very professional setup or in a corporate setup. It's also, I completely agree with you. It's also about being genuine in the endeavor of understanding others, being genuinely compassionate and being empathetic about others. It's that only then one can be emotionally intelligent in the true sense of the word, because genuineness and being there, rendering oneself completely, is so important. So, of course, has a wider reach. And of course, when we talk about, building relationships, about personal growth, about evolving, about personal transformation, all then, comes under its umbrella. That's what I just wanted to mention. But it was such a pleasure being here today and sharing my views and sharing, the concepts here. It was really wonderful. And thank you so much.
No, in fact, I don't think we have said anything which is in conflict.
No. Of course, we
not
haven't
said anything conflicting.
No. It's
When it comes to
expansion.
when it comes to the awareness of the emotions of others and managing it, uh, doing it sincerely is not inconsistent with not doing it sincerely. The two are consistent with each other, but why one is better than the other? And why I said that was because Daniel Goleman, who was the pioneer in this field and who was one of the first ones to come up with this very concept, I heard him speak once, and he said very clearly that let's not forget that emotional intelligence is primarily about success. It's not about being a good person. If you're a good person, yes, emotional intelligence will be a uh, naturally accompany it. But emotional intelligence by itself is essentially about success.
I would also like to add here, Dr. Bijlani, that when one tries to work genuinely towards being emotionally intelligent, it would definitely lead to that kind of a transformation as well. I mean, for example, one can understand one's own emotions and understand emotions of others, and one can work on managing one's own emotions, but can be empathetic about others. And whatever work I've done on this, whatever little work I've done, and the way I've understood and listened to others and read about this, and I've also experienced that, as you very rightly said, that genuineness, when people would do that, it eventually then would bring that kind of a transformation also in people, in terms of genuinely empathetic towards others, carrying the genuine intent of understanding others, which of course comes from within, and obviously at more at a soulful level, uh, and obviously that gets aligned. So just wanted to add that. And with this, I would like to take your leave. Would need
Actually,
to.
it's a self-perpetuating process with a positive feedback. If you practice it genuinely, you get transformed. And the more you get
True, true.
transformed, the more genuine you will become in its practice.
Absolutely, absolutely. Totally agree. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Mansee ma'am, thank you again for this interesting session and for sharing your
Pleasure.
valuable time with us. I thank the participants as well for being there with us today. We can close today's session with a moment of peaceful silence. Namaste.
Thank you.